You're watching Bears Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Harrison Graham, and on today's show, we have a preseason preview for game number 2 of the NFL preseason as the Chicago Bears head up to face the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday night. Obviously, a year ago, Chicago struggled, especially offensively. Defense was kind of middle of the pack there. Seattle kind of in a similar mold where I think they're really rebuilding, where the Bears are a bit, but Seattle could be one of the worst teams in the NFL to beat, quite frank. This game will kick off 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time on Thursday night in Seattle, and the Seahawks are actually 5-point favorites in this ball game up there in Washington. Again, betting in the preseason, bet at your own will, because it's always tricky. You don't know how long certain guys are going to play. Now, I'm going to have 5 things to watch out for in this matchup, because winning and losing isn't necessarily what's most important in the preseason. But first, I want to remind you guys, we're going to have a preseason watch party for this game. Had a lot of fun in the last game against the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to run it back against Seattle on Thursday night, a little preseason Thursday night football action. So join us, 7:45 Eastern Time, 6:45 Central. We will be live 15 minutes before kickoff at 8 Eastern and 7 Central Time. Join us for Bears versus Seahawks here on Thursday night. All right, 5 things to watch out for in this matchup. Can Justin Fields and the starting offense score in this game? Could be a little tricky because Matt Eberflus actually said that the starters will only get about 6 to 10 snaps, but you still want to see the starters score if possible. Now, that probably means 1 to 2 drives. If you start with a 3-and-out or something like that, I would guess they'll get a second drive. If the first drive, you get a first down or 2, then you stall out. That'll probably be it for the game. But I would like to see the starting offense score in this one. In the first game, the offense did some good things. Don't get me wrong. 3-and-out in the first drive, took a sack on 3rd down when Michael Schofield missed a block. That obviously wasn't a great start. But the next 2 drives were actually pretty good for Fields in the offense. 6 plays, 32 yards, including a big completion for 26 to Darnell Mooney for a 3rd down conversion. That was nice to see, but ultimately resulted in a punt. And then drive number 3, this was the best drive of the game, started inside their own 10 after the Daz Newsome muffed punt and a block in the back. Drove it 50 yards on 9 plays, but had to punt again after stalling out. Both of those drives stalled out past midfield, just outside of field goal range. Now, again, I want to see these starters score, but you may only get 1 drive because Matt Eberflus said the starters will only get about 6 to 10 plays. He said some guys might play a little bit more, but I get the sense that Fields is in this category where they're not going to overextend here. Short week, coming off a Saturday game, playing on Thursday night. They don't want to overdo it here. So 6 to 10 plays for the starters in this one. That means 1 to 2 series, depending on how long the first drive actually ends up going. Will Justin Fields have a touchdown this week? Type Y for yes, type N for no. We'll see. I'd like to see it. I think the offense showed good signs last week, but you'd like to earn some points this time around. We'll see what ends up happening. Y for yes or N for no. More things to watch in this preseason game. Kyler Gordon, Velus Jones Jr. returning to action as they did not play in the preseason opener. 2 of your top 3 draft picks this year. Gordon, the number 1 pick for the Bears at pick number 39. Velus Jones, that 3rd-round pick. Both are expected to play. Matt Eberflus did confirm on Tuesday that Gordon's for sure going to play. He wasn't asked about Velus Jones, but I tend to think that he's going to play as well after returning to practice on Monday and on Tuesday. I do wonder, are they in that starters category? Eberflus was kind of asked this, since they didn't play in the opener, could they play more than 6 to 10 plays, especially when talking about Gordon, who will for sure start for this team. I tend to think he might get a few more. Maybe he'll play 10 to 15 plays since he didn't play in the opener, but we'll see how they feel about him. Also, Velus Jones Jr., I don't know if he's in that starter category. He's probably not a top 2 receiver right now on this team, so I tend to think he could play a little bit more, especially on special teams also. So we'll have to wait and see, but excited to see 2 of these top 3 rooks for the Bears play after not being able to in the preseason opener. Now, before we get to our next thing to watch in this Bears preseason game, the Bears may not be playing the Packers in this one, but the FBG or GB motto, Jesus Christ, FGB motto is always here to stay, regardless of the opponent. Pick up your shirt today. I'm going to be rocking this throughout the season. Mine's still coming in the mail. Chatsports.com/FGB. Link is in the comments and the description. Go ahead and pick up your shirt right now. All right, this might be the biggest one. Tevin Jenkins at right guard. I want to see how this comes together because they pretty much have moved him to guard, at least for now, because on Monday got reps with the 2s and the 3s, and then on Tuesday got all the starting reps at right guard over Michael Schofield. I hope and I think they're going to give him a big look here, not only in this game, but in the preseason finale as well, at that right guard position. They're going to give him a chance to beat out Michael Schofield. So I have officially moved Jenkins to guard on my depth chart as based on Tuesday's practice, he actually started. But I think if the Bears played a game today, this would be the starting offensive line: Jones, Whitehair, Patrick if he's healthy. If not, it'll be Mustipher, and then Schofield and Reiff from left to right. But Jenkins is going to get a look here at right guard. And ideally for the Bears, he wins that job. And he ends up being the starting right guard because you did draft him in the second round last year, even though it was a different regime. And Schofield, not exactly a long-term solution on this football team. So I would love to see Tevin Jenkins be this team's right guard. Who do you think is the better option, though? Like, if you have to win a football game right now, who do you think is a better option at right guard? Type TJ for Tevin Jenkins. Type MS for Michael Schofield. Tough to say right now. You'd probably have to lean with the veteran Schofield, but ideally that ends up becoming Tevin Jenkins over the next couple of weeks. All right, next thing to watch. Wide receivers again, because that was certainly one to watch last week, and I think it'll be one worth watching moving forward. I just want to see who's going to stand out. I mentioned Velus Jones Jr. He's going to be a guy to watch. Pringle's not going to be back for this game. N'Keal Harry's not healthy. David Moore's not going to play. Can we see a little bit more from Equanimeous St. Brown? He had a nice little end around in the opener, but no catches. Tajay Sharp was the one who stepped up last week. Who does it this week? Maybe Dante Pettis has a couple of flash plays. Maybe St. Brown shows up. Maybe Velus Jones Jr. gets in on the action. We know Mooney's going to do his thing. He probably won't play much anyway. But who is going to step up at receiver? I want to continue to see these guys compete at the wideout position. And then the linebackers. Something that stood out to me on the Chiefs' lone offensive drive with the starters when Mahomes was in there in the preseason opener was they went straight down the field and the linebackers got lost. Now, I'm not saying Travis Kelce is an easy matchup, but they worked the middle of the field a couple of times. One time with Kelce where he just completely burned. I think it was Matt Adams on a crossing route. That's where you miss a guy like Roquan Smith, who is traveling to Seattle, by the way, but can a Nicholas Morrow step up and make more plays? He's kind of been a little quiet. You're wanting a little more for him. Can Joe Thomas be more involved? And then, who I want to watch again here is Jack Sanborn. Jack Sanborn, the rookie undrafted free agent who balled out in the preseason opener, moved up from the third-string defense to the second-string defense this week. I'm excited to watch him again. I think he's making moves to be secure on this 53-man roster, and who's to say he can't have a role on this team this year? I think there is a chance that he could work his way into the starting lineup at that Sam linebacker spot and play next to Roquan if he's back, play next to Nicholas Morrow if he is going to be your starting middle linebacker, which I still think he is going to be. So keep an eye on him as well. And the linebackers as a whole, I think that is your biggest weakness on the defense. All right, predict the score of Bears versus Seahawks. Big preseason game coming up on Thursday night. Get those score predictions in. Let us know who's going to win in this one.